irregular migration? Is there any alternative for those who cannot afford this?
Yes, there are a lot of legal pathways, both to Europe, to US, to Canada. There are a lot of illegal pathways, just that people are not patient to look for it.
Recruitment and Communication Network.
These successes have shifted the momentum decisively in our favor and will remain committed to sustaining the pressure until terrorism is completely defeated.
There are a lot of schemes that are coming up, just that people are not willing, to professionalize or to upscale their skills to match with what is happening in those countries, in other countries, so that they can get jobs. A lot of people are in a hurry to go and do menial jobs. You have seen I've seen pictures and updates of
pressure, deepen operations, and consolidate stability in liberated areas.
As troops intensify operation against,
you will apply and you'll be gotten. But when you want to go, just because you feel that you want to go for greener pastures without any thinking of what you're going to do there, you are going to into all these problems, and the adverse effect may be negative. So I advise Nigerians to look at what is possible, what is obtainable in countries that they can apply for, and these things are there.
All right, thank you so much. So basically, Nigerians who are seeking opportunities abroad must ensure that they remain informed, seek information, and comply with the immigration rules. Thank you so much. The Executive Director, Patriotic Citizen, Osita Osemede, thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. So that's what we'll draw the curtains on TV360. I am Joy Uchejem. Thank you for watching. Hello, welcome again to the program. Police in Nigeria has entered a new phase, with the federal government opening consultations on a bill expected to redefine the country's future. After years of debate, the National Policing Bill 6 citizens, security agencies, civil society groups, state and local governments, and other stakeholders to submit memoranda. The draft executive bill is expected to be presented to President September 3 before further consultations and transmission to the National Assembly. Shabiamila said the proposed law will set standards for recruitment, training, oversight, funding, and accountability while defining the responsibilities of state police services. On his part, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, says safeguards would be included to prevent abuse and political prosecution. Take a listen at what both officials said.
The legislative process has advanced considerably. The constitutional proposal on 24th of June 2026, and the House of Representatives passed the executive
treatment following its 2023 election observation mission as the basis for the alleged decision.
Now, this distinction is very important. The constitutional amendment creates the authority
waste, cartons, household refuse, and more. The piles attract swarms of flies and emit offensive odors, A stark reminder
of waste disposal practices.
Lagos's waste challenge is not new.
This process, and it's a timeline enough to allow meaningful input from security experts, civil society groups, stakeholders.
Thank you for inviting.
Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu ordered the evacuation of refuse black spots, intensified environmental.
My own suggestion, rather than doing criticism of what's been done, will be that we phase in state policing.
In this country. So enforcement and the rearrangement of whatever stakeholder or partnership that Lagos State has.
Bringing together logical ways in which we can think. Then there's the creative aspect, which is understanding our desires, our best practice, using international standards and creating new things. So those two dimensions have to be addressed.
Biggest challenges here will be funding. What should be done to ensure that the state police services are adequately funded without creating wide disparities, in policing standards in the country?
This is my point. Something like funding is not an abstract, it's highly contextual. The fund that is needed in one division is not necessarily the fund that is needed in another division. The mistake that we've been doing forever is funding divisions on a flat basis. This is what the crime rate in one place is not exactly the crime rate in another. And if analysis, we have to be gathering intelligence. My own suggestion would be
undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians have said in this part.
And in Borno states have different needs.
And then, of course, another concern now surrounding the state's police creation has been the possibility of abuse, particularly fears that state authorities could use the structure against political opponents to violate citizens' rights. And what safeguards should be built in this case into the bill to prevent such situations?
All right. What's your name again? Kemi?
Yes, sir.
Good. Are you ready for us for next week?
Yes, sir.
Next.
No, sir. No.
Corruption not in my country.
Good afternoon.
Organic design, implementation, and exploration. And if we are going to do it well, we have to have a legislative arm
of business, Nigeria's states received significantly higher disbursements from the Federation accounts in the first half of 2026.
We're going to trust the state government, and somebody comes in that does not care, that has no self-restraint and state to abuse the people of the state. What's our checks and balance? And to think about all these things that makes a state police work. The state police is the tail. The real issue is the criminal justice system. And the criminal ultimately. But where we're starting from, we're so far. So it's best for us to make sure that we start with this, have the need right now, to test it out with them, to learn our lessons, to build all the capacities in place, rather than roll it out nationwide, and then start scrambling for ways to fix this when this thing goes off the rail.
Now, apart from funding, which you had earlier addressed, the proposed framework now is expected to also touch on areas such as recruitment, training, like you have mentioned now, and oversight as well as accountability. That is most important in determining whether state police can succeed in Nigeria.
Well, it's going to have to succeed. We don't have a choice. We are going to have to make this work. And I don't know that you can choose when you're starting a new police, a state police, you don't have standards for training and development. Training and development is extremely critical. accountability is extremely critical. So I don't think you can make intelligence-led policing is extremely. So what we must have is a framework that's organic enough. Not just a flat standard that says, oh, this is how this is going to work. It's not going to work like that. It's going to be highly contextual. So we're going to have something like a Inspectorate of State Police nationally. At what annually or every 2 years, they're training the officers enough. How's their handling of guns? How's their treatment of abuse of power? And then they will issue a regular report and hold them to account. There has to be checks and balances in all of these things. But we can't rush how this is going to be implemented. It's a different thing when you write the law to how it's going to be implemented. We have been running police for decades now. Years after, we still have a police because it's based on a particular mindset. And the police still run largely on the basis of if we want to change this thing, if we want to transform it, we have to be very creative. We have to be very honest with ourselves. We have to make sure that this thing is a system-wide engagement, not just a transaction. It has to be a transformation.
Now, speaking of ensuring that it's a system-wide consultation, of course, public consultation is only meaningful when people believe that their views can influence the final outcome. Now, what would make this process genuinely inclusive and transparent?
Well, you have to understand that we have a major trust deficit across the Nigerian state. And to bridge that trust deficit, you start from the people rather than from the government. So you actually have to have a system, even on local government level, where people are having this dialogue over not just a 10-day period, not just a 15-day period where the government shuts it down. There has to be a conversation where the people believe we cite face-to-face review across the entire federation, different states. What do people think about policing? What are their concerns? What are their issues? They're not really interested in the nuts and bolts, but they are concerned about how they're going to experience the police. So get them involved and make sure that their feedback is shared. Then on the basis of that feedback, all town hall meetings where different perspectives are brought in to engage what has been discovered from the initial feedback. And then on the third level, speak to the people who are breaking laws. You don't speak to just the people who obey the laws. You speak to the people who are breaking the laws. And we sat down with the people who we've arrested on insurgency, the people involved in kidnapping. Do we know what their dynamics are? So we are building a police that is based on the consent of all Nigerians in such a way in each state. This is done in each state. So that informs not just the design of policing, but informs the way in which we continue to interact with to make sure that security is not an abstract thing just for police to do, but it's one thing that we all take serious so that the people can feel some trust in telling the police this is what is going on, because you have listened to us before, we think you are still...
Saturday, losing 2-1 to the host in Rabat, while Nigeria fell 1-0 against Cameroon in Casablanca on Sunday. The other automatic World Cup spots were also claimed by Cameroon, Algeria, and WAFCON debutant.
Individuals that are powerful to direct their interest. But if you put checks and balances in place across the board, where there is conversation, there's interaction, there is resolution, then you stand a chance that when there's problems, there will be some kind of ability to discuss to end. You know, about 25 years ago, the main crime in Nigeria would be armed robbery. Today, the main crime in Nigeria is kidnapping. The fundamentally shifted core. Nigeria is going through a demographic shift where the age profile is going younger, where we're moving from rural to urban focus. All of this require different kinds of adaptation from us. So you can't have a carte blanche of how this is going to play out. We have to be willing to be led by the information and intelligence and the issues going on, and we should adapt ourselves as we go along.
Then clearly the success of the National Policing Bill will depend not only on its passage, but on the safeguards, accountability measures, and operational standards built into it, as you have clearly stated. Mr. Adewale Ajadi, we truly appreciate you joining us to examine what this means for Nigeria's security. Thank you, sir. And that's all on this episode. See you next time.
At least 4 to 5 million that are saved as a result of being vaccinated year in and year out. Immunization is one of the most effective, most impactful health interventions in all of human history, and I'd love to tell you why that is. Tens of millions of people, in fact, over the course of human history, hundreds of millions of people died from smallpox. It was a dreaded disease. And in the late 1700s was an amazing breakthrough. A British physician, Jenner, noticed that milkmaids who had been infected not from smallpox, but from a related virus called cowpox, they were pretty immune from getting smallpox. And so he used that observation to, in fact, immunize an 8-year-old boy, James Phipps, using the cowpox virus. And then weeks later, he exposed Phipps of his parents to smallpox, and he didn't get sick from smallpox. And smallpox is a disease we don't have anymore anywhere in the world. And the reason we don't have this disease is because of vaccination. Another disease that's really front and center, big spotlight on trying to eradicate this disease, meaning wipe it off the face of the earth once and for all, just as we've done for smallpox, is polio. I think everybody knows what polio looks like. Paralysis of limbs, long life, disability. Many people die of polio as well. And this means vaccinating, for instance, in Pakistan, in India, in many other countries, huge campaigns that have vaccinated tens of millions of children in short periods of time. We're now at the point where polio has been reduced by over 99% compared with the way polio used to be before we had vaccines. We're so close to ending this. We're so close to the last few cases. We're so close to ending the transmission of this virus. I worked in a hospital in the country of Haiti, in the capital city, in Port-au-Prince. The pediatric ward in that hospital was full of children who had measles, who had diarrhea, who had meningitis, children who had tuberculosis, children who were born with tetanus. And about a third of children who were admitted to that pediatric ward died on a daily basis. And so many of the illnesses that children came in with were illnesses that were completely preventable with vaccination. It was a really important period for me in my training, in my life, to decide to really devote my career to making sure that vaccines were not only developed for diseases for which we didn't have them yet, but also perhaps more importantly, that the vaccines that we already have are completely available, completely safe and effective for people, no matter what community you're born in. So we've all been living through what has been an enormously difficult couple of years, this pandemic. One of the things that the world over, I think everybody knows, is the incredible development in rapid time, in frankly unprecedented time, of vaccines that prevent COVID disease. They work against infection and transmission as well. One of the ways that vaccines have gotten into every country around the world is through the COVAX facility. And the COVAX facility is the mechanism to buy vaccines, which is happening on a billions of dose basis, and get them shipped to countries that need these vaccines that can't buy them on their own. There are 92 countries that are benefiting. And when we think about low-income countries, over 80% of the doses that are provided to low-income countries are coming through the COVAX facility. We vaccinate against diseases that are that each of us presents some risk to someone else unless we're protecting ourselves through the use of vaccines. So I really think about vaccination.
What do you think about having your masks on? I don't know the mask.
Safe.
What do you think?
Safe.
I think youth underestimates the risk of contracting COVID virus. We are young, we're forever young, we won't die. So guys, what do you think about vaccination? Curious,
well, next week.
Next week? Yeah. My hope for the campaign is that more people get vaccinated, people get aware about the information that is out there around vaccines, around COVID-19, and also be more cautious about taking care of themselves first. My name is Zikwana Matubela. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Baker Co. in Kailicha in South Africa. COVID fatigue in the community is quite bad. I find in all the information that they're getting, I'm finding ignorance. It's like COVID has passed, people don't see side effects of the vaccine to say, because it differs from person to person. Like I say, I also had a lump, but over 2 days the lump was gone. But for me, it was the lump for 2 days, and then now I'm happy to interact. I'm happy to go out. We are affectionate, touchy people. We love hugging, kisses to show affection. We have to unlearn that kind of love language. For us, it's a challenge in terms of social distancing. Have you been vaccinated?
Yeah, got all of my 2 shots.
Thank you, Chloe.
So
you can actually take off the mask.
Yes,
I'm joking.
I'm sorted, and I can even show you my card.
Yes, that's what's up. No, it's fine.
Okay, no problem.
It's fine. Thank you. Like, what encouraged you to vaccinate, if I may ask you?
It's just my personal healthy way. That I don't want to be. Just to be safe.
And your family?
My brother, not yet, but I'm trying so hard to tell him to get vaccinated, but he's still on the fighting process.
We need to be there more for each other than we are on our own. This COVID period has proven to us that we need each other united more.
If any governor to look for grant for ranching,
TV360, dissecting the issues. Hello and welcome. Now, just 5 years after commissioning the Chinua Achebe International Airport, the Anambra State government is moving ahead with plans to build a second airport. While the Soludo administration insists the project is critical to its long-term vision of transforming the state into an aviation and industrial hub, critics argue that another airport located barely 60 kilometers from the existing one is an expensive venture that does little to address the state's more pressing needs. The backlash is particularly striking because just 9 months ago, the state government denied reports that it plans to build an airport in Urumba North local government area. At the time, the Commissioner for Information, Law Mefo, dismissed the reports as speculation, explaining that although the proposed Anambra mixed-use industrial city, that's AMIC, would require major transport infrastructure, no decision had been made on whether to construct an airport or a railway. However, the government's position changed in June 2026 when Mefo announced that Governor Chukwuma Soludo had approved plans for a second airport as part of the administration's long-term economic strategy. Officials argue that the new airport is essential to supporting the projected economic growth of the Aerotropolis city development. Joining me now to discuss further on this is the State Commissioner for Information, Mr. Law Mefo himself. Mr. Mefo, thank you very much for coming on the program. What informed the change of mind? Just about 9 months ago, you were quoted all over the media saying that no decision had been taken. In fact, saying it was just a rumor, that there was no truth in the report. So what informed the change of decision?
Thank you very much. Yes, that position is correct. As at the time I told us that there was no airport in view, there was none actually. You know, a lot goes into this. Feasibility studies, very extensive. It took well over a year. So as at the time people were talking about a second airport, there was no decision on it yet. The feasibility studies haven't been concluded. Nothing has returned to the Anambra State Executive Council. So no decision. And for us to read that a second airport was already in the making was a bit surprising.
Well, maybe because people got to find out that you were carrying out this feasibility study and all of that. Say there's no smoke without fire, and it eventually turned out to be true.
I wasn't in a position to say that there was an idea like that, or that I didn't study it. And there is a reason for it. You see, to get a space in a place like Anambra for an airport as expansive as an Aerotropolis was a bit dicey. Nobody was sure that we were going to get the space for an Aerotropolis in Anambra. So if we had agreed with them and the feasibility study turned out not to be encouraging or positive, then we would have an airport. It's not just a second airport. It's an Aerotropolis. An Aerotropolis is a cluster of industries that is driven by aviation, with an airport as a central part of it.
So it means there's still going to be an airport there. That's just, if an airport is a central part of it, it means there's an airport.
Listen now, if you give me a moment, let me explain the difference between an airport and an Aerotropolis. An Aerotropolis is not an airport. It's a cluster of industry that, is driven by aviation, by an airport. And the existing airport in Anambra cannot be converted into an Aerotropolis because of the industries that are required to combine to yield up an Aerotropolis. So when we talk about the second airport, we miss the point. We need to talk about an Aerotropolis, which is exactly what Soludo is building. Let me try further distinction here.
Yeah.
In the entire world, we have hundreds of airports. But you have only 80 electropolis in the whole world, only 80. And that of Anambra, Africa. So it is not an ordinary airport. I want you to look at it from that perspective to understand what the.
I've just been looking up the word aerotropolis. At the core of an aerotropolis is an airport. So everything revolves around the airport. So the core infrastructure we're talking about here is still an airport. So there's still going to be an airport. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
There's going to be an airport. No. Don't confuse your viewers. It's not an airport. An electropolis is not an airport. Do you understand that?
The airport is the core of the aerotropolis.
Listen.
Okay.
If you want, unless you have.
No. Go ahead. I'll wait and listen to you.
Your mind on what the answers are.
Not exactly, sir.
And I have just told you that in the entire world, you have only 80 electropolis. Only 80. Whereas you have well over 1,000. So why don't you call the entire airport in the world electropolis? You don't. Anambra is a cluster of industries that will be driven by aviation. That is the important thing, the important point here. Now, let me also drive it down to the fact that the centrality of the Anambra Electropolis is something that is very, very key, is going to be a game changer, because Electropolis will provide the most centrally located airport in the entire Southeast, with as a catchment areas. This is very, very important. It's going to be the most centrally located airport of Southeast.
Sorry to cut you. Go on.
Part of Cross River will benefit, will have to use these electropolis as their exit corridor. And it will take you an hour and a half to get to that airport. It will take you maybe 40, 50 airports. Police was never going to be an alternative